Apologies for a short delay there, but it's given a few more people a chance to come on this meeting. I mean, first of all, absolutely delighted. We weren't sure how many people would be interested in this webinar, and we've had an overwhelming response. We had over 50 people who'd registered, and we've got over 25 people here on the screen today. So I hope you feel it's been worthwhile, but we're delighted with the response. My name's Giles Watts. I'm with the Dorset Climate Action Network, and I'm just going to introduce very quickly the webinar at the beginning, and then I'm going to hand over to Julie Lear, who's going to facilitate the session. But apart from saying hello and delighted to see you all, I want to use this as an excuse just to tell you 1 minute about Dorset Can in case there are a few people who are new to Dorset Can. So if I share my screen, it'll be a good test to see whether this actually works or not. Can you see my screen there?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I have a single slide, which is just an introduction to Dorset Can. Dorset Climate Action Network. We are a community-led action group who have set out to cut carbon emissions, adapt to our changing climate, and restore nature across Dorset. That's our strapline. In practice, we are an organisation which has been around about 4 years. We are now an incorporated charity and have been since August of 2023. And that's both a measure of how we've grown and also affects our ability to raise money to support the projects and activities that we do. So that's been extremely useful. We've grown that we've got four part-time contractors who work for us. Otherwise, everybody are volunteers. You know, we are people almost exclusively living in Dorset, caring about Dorset, want to do something that's profitable for Dorset, and we welcome anybody else who shares those values to come and join us. We have a steering group called the Action Team, which consists of about 15 people, and we meet regularly once every 2 weeks to discuss how things are going. But we have a much wider organisation of almost 1,000 members and close to 100 organisations who are associated with us. And we are a networking group, both for people and for organisations. So that's a major component of what we're trying to do. And we have a lot of social media followers around Dorset as well, which is great to have. As regards the activities we do, we have 8 main groups, which you can see down there: energy, land use, transport, advocacy, a young one with waste, media, youth, and a few emerging ones. We also cooperate with a number of other groups. So, for instance, with beaches and rivers, we don't have our own group, but we associate very closely with other groups in Dorset who are doing that. So we try and provide a complete set of services, if you like, and projects, but not all of them are necessarily run by us. We're trying to be efficient. And we have 5 big projects. So we're trying to concentrate our efforts in these areas. We have low carbon neighbourhoods, which is an energy project, which consists of a number of components to do with renewable energy and retrofitting and solar panels around Dorset. We've got a group called Dorset Deserves Better, which is about campaigning for a better local plan for Dorset, which takes into account climate and housing needs. We have a fantastic project called the Great Big Dorset Hedge, which is about surveying and restoring Dorset's hedges. We run a thing called the Dorset COP, along with Zero Carbon Dorset and Sustainable Dorset, which is a big networking event once a year, which was held in Dorchester in 23 and in Bournemouth University in 24, and is going to be in Sturminster Newton this year. And our youngest project is run by Belinda Borden, and she has run this fantastic thing called Carbon Literacy, which is training individuals, organisations and councillors in carbon awareness. So I've gone well over my 1 minute, but hopefully that gives you a little introduction to Dorset Can. So Julie, I will stop sharing and I will pass over to you for this wonderful workshop. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you, Giles. Brilliant introduction. And yes, lovely to see so many people. Thank you all for coming and for your interest. So yeah, I'm going to do, I'll be like Giles, I'll do 5 minutes. That will hopefully be 5 minutes, but I'm notorious for waffling. So I'll try and be good. Okay. So
Julie, do you just want to say that we're going to run the presentations together and then have questions at the end, I think, rather than
yes, yeah. I think that works more efficiently because I think what we're hoping is that the evening will show lots of different aspects of recycling. Um, we're assuming that many of the people in the room are either involved in recycling groups themselves or want to know more, want to understand where the limits are to recycling and what we can do to improve things that we are doing. So we are, as Giles said, a young waste group. We keep trying to form and then struggling to. But we have got two wonderful presentations after mine by Laurel and Max at Sustainable Cerne Valley. Have I got that right then, Max?
Yep. Yep.
So they're going to show you some extraordinary community effort of what they've been achieving, and Max has lots of ingenious ideas for rolling that out. So I'm just going to talk about a few slightly different aspects of recycling, and then I'm going to hand you on to Laurel. Is there scope for collaboration with Dorset Council is one of the biggest questions. There's a lot of communities doing lots of different projects within their communities of different issues. Can we create community hubs that we then link into the council as sort of collection points? They have the infrastructure of vehicles, and occasionally we have done that as a community where we've done specialised cleanups, and they have come and supported us. Is this something that villages and towns could link into more? Dorset Council and their partners have the expertise and the infrastructure. So there's one of our questions. Is that something we could work towards in some cases for some things? And obviously one of the things we want to do is create much greater community awareness of the principles of reduction and reuse. Recycling centres. So Dorset has excellent facilities for routinely recyclable materials, so metal, electricals, wood, and so on. But there are limitations on access. So time is money if you're self-employed. Opening times are not out, there's no out of work opening times that's at the weekend. So for working families, that is quite a big restriction. And certainly in Bridport, it's actually, there's often a sort of queue to get there because of where it is in Bridport. We have an elderly non-driving population. They tend to do things like if a toaster's broken, for example, it will just go in the black bin. That might then be picked up later, but that's the kind of thing that people are doing without meaning to. And then there is limited access to the building related trade. So small scale builders, plumbers, and so on tend to not have an outlet for their small scale waste, which is not that small scale at times. Curbside business recycling, it can be tricky. Space is an issue in businesses and small multi-occupancy homes. And holiday lets tend to not provide recycling bins because the 2-week cycle doesn't work. If you've got different groups staying each week or weekends, there isn't the capacity to share a recycling bin over a 2-week period. So they just don't provide them. They just take them out of the loop, and all that holiday waste goes into the black bins often. This is speaking from experience in Charmouth. It might be different in other areas. So potential solutions, community group collections, partnership with waste management services. So Charmouth is an example of difficult to recycle items. We have a huge amount of tourism in a small village with relatively limited capacity for supporting that. Tourists eat and drink a lot. They are respectful. They use the bins within reason. The bins have to be constantly changed in the summer at the foreshore. But they do lose cans, bottles, toys. Polystyrene gets smashed up on rough weather and clothing. But what we have is a huge sea-related litter issue. It's absolutely massive, and it could be from the Great Atlantic Garbage Patch break-offs, which we think happened last winter. We got so much. Fishing related, mostly a large proportion of it is crates, nylon nets and ropes. So this isn't local fishermen on the whole losing a bit of netting or rope. This is huge amounts of historical, very poor condition, often waste. And then there is the global issue of biobeads and nurdles and all the smashed up microplastics that we get. So dealing with the tourism consumption, once emptied of contents, food packaging is messy and contaminated. So the back to base, take it back to where you came from message doesn't work. People just want to get rid of it into a bin. Onus on food vendors doesn't work because purchased food is eaten elsewhere. And the new business recycling rules, whilst they're very welcome, are going to create issues of space and staff training. We, as a beach at Charmouth, have had some success with just recycling tins and plastic bottles, but labelling and bin type is an issue there. And it gets contaminated. Even something that says tins only will get dog poo in it, which is awful at every point, of course, for everybody involved. This is just a little bit about our marine litter, what we've done, because so much is picked up by Heritage Coast Centre organised beach cleans. Parish council staff are constantly picking up litter and the locals, so a lot of it's captured. And this photograph on the side shows you, this is just one beach clean, the amount of large plastic we get, and that's not even showing you the rope's still inside in crates. So what we've done is the parish council have put aside a beach hut, an old beach hut, so that we can create this sort of hub where we've got time to sort the rubbish, and then it can be linked into existing recycling systems. So for example, Roy Beale of Clean Jurassic Coast comes and picks up a lot of this hard plastic, mostly went to him for recycling and netting. And then Dave Taylor from the Portland and Weymouth Marine Litter Project has been amazing at sorting out two loads, enormous carloads of fairly unsorted rope that I've taken over to him. And he's running an incredible project over there at Weymouth, which is sorting all sorts of marine litter and waste along the coast there. There are problems. The sorting is complex and can be hazardous. There's all sorts of sharp stuff put in there. And training, it's very complicated, different types of rope and netting. But it's very nice when this stuff is going to recycling. You can actually end up with a sort of circular economy. So a lot of our hard plastic waste goes to DW Polymers in Exeter. I think that's what they're called. And we have been buying their recycled benches for our foreshore. So we've got this sort of nice circular purchase system going. So are there partnership solutions to that? Probably there are, and that's the way to look at it. And there's three of the volunteers sorting through some of the rope. So I'm going to stop sharing. And that's a little snapshot of a sort of coastal issue. And I'm going to hand you over to Laurel, who's going to, thank you, Sam. Hand you over to Laurel, who's going to share some of the amazing work they've been doing.
That's fine for me. So I'll just talk you through these. And the first thing I'd like to say is it's great to be on this webinar because the networking power of DCAN and the expertise of people like the speaker we've just had really make me hopeful. So I'm a hands-on kind of frontline person, and I wanted to set up this recycling centre. Unfortunately, we had a convenient little building called, not the bus shelter, because the buses had gone elsewhere. And it was serving as a notice board, really, for the community we have in Cerne, which is 800 people, roughly. And we decided, I asked the council, would it be possible to put some particular recycling bins there? And they actually installed this little barrier and he put bins I wanted. So we definitely wanted batteries, plastic bottle tops we didn't start off with. We did print and breather cartridges, inhalers, because I have a big interest in inhalers. We did the blister packs and the bras and the glasses. And as soon as we'd started off doing this, another person in the village said, oh, I want the plastic, do let me collect the crisp packets. So it started to trend. Why do we do it? Oh yeah, here we are. There's the notice board, and we've got lots of your literature there, Mac board, and these are the bins. And we now go on to the next slide. So what are we achieving? Well, we wanted things that would go to landfill, be reused if they possibly could be. So we do the glasses and the bras, we collect them for Sierra Leone in Africa. And every time you keep something useful out of landfill, obviously you're reducing all the carbon footprint that's associated with the production of a new one. Brita cartridges, I'd heard about them being refillable. They aren't always refilled. Sometimes they're processed again and the plastic is reused to make new ones. But they've always been a great hit. We get an awful lot of those. And the materials that, recovering materials for recycling. So that's the batteries and the blister packs, but thereby hangs the tale we'll come to. Upcycling, this was known about by the individual who's collecting those. And she sends them to a charity and they are ironed into survival blankets. Then plastic bottle tops, you probably know this as you've just had recycled benches, but they're recycled particularly into traffic bollards. And then we want to remove greenhouse gases, so that's why we're collecting the inhalers and taking them to the pharmacies. And we want to reduce the contamination and the fire risk, and that's the batteries and the toxic materials from the printer cartridges. So it all makes sense. And these things I know end up in black bags because when I lived in Colchester, 2 of my patients worked down at the recycling centre. And when I went down there, they were looking in black bags and they said in dismay, come and look at this, doctor. Now you fix this. So I know it needs doing. This is a slide that says, why do we bother? And what we've really seen is that by having it a very obvious recycling centre right in the centre of the village on the main street, it does motivate people. It does educate people. And they're doing effort which is of a value, and it's like that overused word, it's empowering, it's stopping them feeling helpless in the face of the pollution and the climate change. So sustainability, our theme, means that actually we want to deal with some of this at source. So we would like to promote alternative products like only rechargeable batteries, get rid of the single use, only powder inhalers, get rid of the ones which have got the greenhouse gases, persuade people that they can use the refillable printer cartridges like the Epson printer, and the water filters, Brita cartridges are also refillable, or there's a different water filter that is refillable with charcoal. So that would get rid of a fair amount of what's in our village going into these bins. We've also managed a project with reducing green waste by having village shredder sessions. And we have another project which is called Declutter. And from that, we've rescued an awful lot of school books. And we've also had school books from schools that were abandoning them due to changes in the curriculum. We have used bikes, we have towels, all these things are going off to Sierra Leone. And we have a project with the village shop where we're trying to increase the amount of eco goods that they sell. And then I'll just come on to what is particular to us, and that is a link with Sierra Leone. And I feel strongly about this. I know Dorset deserves better, but if helping Dorset to become a better, more sustainable, less polluted place, we can also help another part of the world which actually faces bigger problems and which has contributed very little towards creating them. I really do like to do that. So we even run an offset program over there with solar lamps, because the solar lamps have such good impact and they stop the burning of gasoline over there. And then I'll just come to the last slide here. And this takes you well away from the shores of Dorset right over to Sierra Leone. but it's simply to show you what amazing use they make of products that would otherwise go to landfill. And down here, you're seeing the impact of having solar lamps, even in situations. I mean, they have, if they're on the grid, the power will be for 2 to 3 hours a day and quite unpredictable. So that's just to give a bit of a global perspective. And I think that's enough, because you're really interested in what community recycling can do for you in Dorset and how we can be of assistance to the council. Thank you very much.
Well, it was Max Griffith, and I got involved with Sustainable Cerne Valley in the autumn, really. And I discovered what was actually going on in not the bus shelter. I hadn't really paid much attention to it. When I discovered how many things were being done, there was more and more initiatives happening in this quiet village. And I'm talking to Laurel. I knew so much was happening, but nothing had been quantified. So what I wanted to do was get a handle on how big is this thing that we're doing, and could we compare it with other groups? And if we could we work together and try and see if we could make all these initiatives be stronger together? So in the final 10 weeks of the year, ending in December just gone, Laurel started weighing the individual items. And the reason why we weighed them was that we couldn't count them because of the thousands. An impossible job. And hardly any quantity of people involved in doing this. Really, mainly Laurel, the most driven person, is really responsible for doing this. But anyway, I'm going to talk about just 3 of these listed here: bras, batteries, and blister packs. Now, with the bras, in 10 weeks, having taken a sample 1 kilogram of bras on average, they varied between about a dozen and into the high teens, I think, but on average, from memory, Laurel, I think it was about 15 or 16 to the kilogram. Doesn't really matter because
Yeah, that's right.
it's a long time ago now. But on that basis, in the 10 weeks, we reckon we'd probably collected around 400 bras, which for a population of 800 people is astounding, really. You could say it shows how many bras are hidden in the woodwork. But when we multiply that 10 weeks by 5.2 to get 52 weeks, that scales up to over 2,000 bras. But I think what was probably happening there is that it was an initial response, and people sort of rallied to the cause, went home when they heard it was happening and sorted out what they'd got and dropped it off at not the bus shelter, because it's really, really easy to do.
Mm.
There's a space where a car can pull up next to it, and it's midway between pubs and the shop. So anybody, whether they're coming back from school or going somewhere else, they can just stop and drop something off. When it came to the batteries, I did some research and discovered that in Europe and the UK, the percentage of AA and AAA batteries that are sold retail. So in measuring the weight of the batteries, having accurately weighed individual AA and AAA batteries, I deduced that we have collected roughly 4,000 in a year at the current rate over those 10 weeks. And I think that's a pretty consistent amount. And this is from about roughly a catchment of 1,000 people. So moving down to blister packs at the bottom, this is what you might call the elephant in the room. We collected 39.2 kilograms of blister packs in 10 weeks. And I'm going to show you an analysis of how we worked out the numbers on this. But to just put it into perspective, at the time we were investigating using TerraCycle instead of Laurel putting them in the back of her car, and then trying to find places that would accept them, typically in Dorset and in Dorchester and Sherborne. Now, TerraCycle at the time, I went online, their largest container would take 7,500 blister packs at a cost of £216 per container. Now, dividing that into our 86,000 packs, it would have cost us about £2,500 to deal with it in that way. But when the blister packs are taken into Boots or the other chemist, forget the name for now, Superdrug, they won't actually accept anything more than a handful. So if you go in with a carrier bag, you're turned away. And that's probably because they can't handle it themselves. So that's a problem. But it's easily overcome at village level when people are able to just drop them off naturally in their day-to-day movements. So, now, I can go on to the next slide doing it that way, good. So when we extrapolate those numbers and try and translate that into a county scale for Dorset, in the columns that are shown there, the second column with the box around it is the county of Dorset. And because our catchment in our village is around 1,000 people, and Dorset is around 380,000 people, then it's at a scale 380 times larger, logically, if it's driven by the number of population. So when we look at those three again, bars, batteries and blister packs, that might mean there are 800,000 bras somewhere hidden in Dorset at the moment, 1.5 million AA and AAA batteries currently going to the wrong place, or not to the wrong place, but unnecessarily being purchased, and something which we could change if we went to rechargeable batteries. It's something we could look at. And then thirdly, the elephant in the room, 32 million blister packs. Now, the three columns to the right are just a further extrapolation to a scale for England, a scale for Europe, and a scale for the world. And we're talking about literally trillions of items. So, looking at the blister packs on their own, the picture on the top left of this slide is what 1 kilogram of blister packs look like. Some of these are all aluminium, some are mixtures of different materials. The white ones you can see there are actually paracetamol tablets from Tesco in Dorchester, which is an over-the-counter purchase. Now, when I analysed these, I laid them out on the floor. Nearest to the camera is a blister pack with one tablet in, nicely produced with rounded corners, not cut with scissors, specially made for some reason. And it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 in the corner where the Tesco white ones are. Then going to the right in the kitchen, on the extreme right, we eventually get to packs of 48 tablets. And next to that are 46 tablets. No idea why they're made in those quantities. But going back to the analysis, 40% of these 19 varieties are based on multiples of 7. So typically they'd be repeat prescription drugs with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. on. And they're produced like that for practical reasons to help people who might have trouble otherwise remembering whether or not they've taken the right number of tablets. But 60% of this 1 kilogram are either based on multiples of 5 or on random numbers, which I think I would call heritage production. It's simply what the drug companies have been making, and it's what the NHS is currently buying, and what people, retailers like Tesco, are currently selling. There's no accounting for how many should there be in a pack. Now, there were 424 packs with 5,000 tablets in, which means that extrapolating that up to a year, believe it or not, there seem to be 1 million tablets, which is an extraordinarily large number. Now, unfortunately, on the top right, you can't see, I don't know if you can see the whole of that text, but just going through it, imagine the scenario where an individual has a mixture of tablets which they're taking every day. Some come in 28s and some come in 30s. In order to keep a supply throughout the year, they have to order 13 times 28 tablets to get 364. But whilst they're doing this, they're also accepting packaging with 30 tablets in. So 2 of those tablets are wasted on each 28-day cycle, which means that in the 13 occasions in the year, there are 26 tablets wasted. Now that translates into a possible 7% waste. And imagine if the NHS could cut that waste and become more efficient. And one way they could do it is changing to, instead of monthly repeats, to doing it 13 times a year. The second way they could do it is by showing a preference for example, all aluminium packaging, instead of allowing composite packs over a period of time. And in Cerne, we are going to try to separate out the aluminium from the composite so that the council can collect ready sorted materials which will be more efficient to deal with and reduce the cost. When I went to W&S Recycling in Poole about 10 days ago, I was told there that 60% of their cost is in actually sorting the materials which are brought to them for further processing. 60% of the cost is in sorting it. So, this brings me on to a new brand which I'm offering for free to anybody who'd like it. And I'll just let you read those points to absorb it. It's self-explanatory. So the bottom line there is that if we go through those 4 steps in that order, we save all those benefits in bold on that bottom line. So our personal future costs, for example, in the services the council provides, should be able to be reduced, and we should be able to have a more circular economy and have better sustainability by reducing, reusing, repairing, and then recycling for our future. Now, I think this is very easy to understand and explain, whether it's for a child or a grandparent, and the children can educate their parents if they're shown this at school, and the other way around. And it really encourages behavioural change, because we can put this on people's radar every day. It would be easy, for example, to have some high-vis jackets on the operatives who create and collect our recycling at curbside. If you're stuck in the car taking the children to school and the operatives have a high-vis jacket saying, "For our future, reduce, reuse, repair, recycle," and everybody sees that every day, wherever they live, multiple times, repeated again and again and again, I think that's an opportunity for a good value investment to get people to think every day about what they could do instead of not really bothering, which some people are too busy, perhaps, to think about that. Now, the fact that it encourages behavioural change is proven in the village. People are just doing this because it's easy to do. It's more convenient than trying to take it out when they go shopping, to drop it off in town somewhere. So what I'm suggesting is, if other facilities elsewhere could be as easy to do as it is in Cerne, then we could be potentially able to offer something that could have a very large impact. And my suggestion with the final 4 points there is that we could have 8 pilots throughout Dorset. And the reason for choosing 8 is that we have 8 MPs, 3 for BCP and 5 for Dorset. So those 8 pilots we could deliberately put in the 8 constituencies, and we could seek the support of each individual MP. And surely each MP would want to support this initiative, surely. Now, if we can do that, we have cross-party support, and Dorset would probably be the first county to enable this to be demonstrated, whereby there's no political scoring, it's just something that's good for our communities, good for politics actually, and good for a circular economy. Now, with these 8 pilots, instead of relying on the figures I've just produced, we could do this really properly, measure it really properly, with the help of the council, and produce model costs, seeing what it might cost for a rollout and how long it would take. So if Dorset can, England can. Why not? And then finally, my final slide. Thank you to anyone who's here tonight from any of these organisations. I'm conscious that what we're doing in Cerne Valley is not unique. Other people must be doing simple things, but what we're collecting here are pre-sorted materials, which I think is a valuable step in reducing the cost for recycling. And I'm asking a question: would all the communities throughout Dorset benefit from their own version of Not the Bus Shelter? Perhaps you have one already, but do you have a space for one if you haven't got one already? That's easy to walk to or drop off by car, that's naturally busy, not in some remote location where you have to go there specially. Somewhere easy where this could be provided. So for our future as a brand, if you like, it has no copyright. Anyone can adopt it. I'm happy to provide graphics. And by so doing this, we can cross-sell our objectives together, be stronger. And in Cerne Valley this year, the first thing we're going to do is try and reduce our impact. For example, as I've said before, by trying to get everyone to adopt rechargeable batteries instead of single use. And could we do something more to help all the repair initiatives? Although I believe there's 3,500 repair shops in the world, with more of them, and I think they could be supported in many ways with the help of the council. So that's my message, and I hope that Lisa can now enlighten us on what the plans for the council and for us for the future might be. Thank you very much. Back to Julie.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Max. It's a really thorough example of the economics of waste. Really interesting, and lots of inspiring ideas there. So there's lots going on in the chat as well, lots of conversation being created with people's ideas and people's knowledge. So I think all of this evening is going to lead into some more workshops, hopefully, where we can come up with some ideas. So if you can stop sharing, Max, that's lovely. Thank you. And I'll hand over to you, Lisa, and you can show us all the amazing work that Dorset Council is doing and how difficult it is to create that public engagement as well, your challenge.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name's Lisa Mounty. I work for Dorset Council, the Service Development Manager in the Waste team. Well, thank you for inviting me. So I really enjoyed listening to those other presentations. It's amazing what good work's happening across Dorset. And hopefully when I go through my presentation, I can also tell you some more stuff that's also happening. I can talk all day about different aspects of recycling, but for this presentation today, I'm very much focusing on what we do as a team to try and promote the 3Rs, reduce, reuse, recycle within the community. So I've got lots of pictures and photos to show you with regards to what my team are doing to try and get people to recycle as much as they can. If we just go on to the first slide, Giles, that's it. What I'll do is just give a brief introduction of recycling in Dorset. As you know, we have a county-wide curbside bin collection service. We call it Recycle for Dorset, R4D for short. Basically, it's a one-size-fits-all approach. So every single household has access to this R4D system, even flats, communal properties. That's actually quite unique for a curbside collection scheme, but all communal properties are also offered the scheme in full. For those of you that don't know, the service consists of a weekly collection of cooked and uncooked food waste, fortnightly collection of recycling, and a fortnightly collection of rubbish, and they're on alternate weeks. And we also have an optional charge fortnightly garden waste collection as well. We implemented the Recycle for Dorset scheme in 5 stages between October 2012 and 2015, and over that sort of 3-year period we rolled out to over 203,000 households. Dorset's recycling and composting rate for 23-24, so the last financial year, was 60.5%. That actually makes us number one. We're the number one unitary and disposal authority in the country. We have cut waste sent to landfill by over 70% over the last decade. So the amount of residual waste, so that's black bag rubbish, that's sent to landfill now has been reduced to just 2%. And the majority of our residual waste is sent to the New Earth Mechanical Biological Treatment Plant, which is based in Poole. And basically what happens there is that when our black bag rubbish gets delivered, the organic and the recyclable materials are extracted as much as possible, and then the leftover material is then turned into what's called a refuse-derived fuel. All the food waste that we collect via our food waste collection system, so that the little brown caddies that you can see in the picture, all that is treated in Dorset using anaerobic digestion. And basically that's sort of a hot composting process in closed control conditions. So it produces a biogas which is then used to generate electricity. And it also produces a biofertilizer, which is used as a soil improver for plants and crops. Since the introduction of our R4D sort of system, we do achieve ongoing annual savings of about £3 million just through increased recycling and reduced waste disposal costs. It costs us far more to dispose of waste as opposed to recycling waste or composting the food waste. And although, as you probably know, the number of houses being built in Dorset is rising exponentially, but we have managed to keep total waste arisings from increasing despite the number of households growing in the county on a yearly basis. So that we see that as quite an achievement. Giles, do you mind going on to my next slide, please? Just say that last point was that we're always continually trying to improve our R&D scheme. So you may know that we've recently, for example, we now collect aluminium foil through the curbside scheme now, and we also have just started collecting cartons, drink cartons, so Tetra Packs. So the reason why we've introduced those is that there's new legislation that's come through called simpler recycling, which basically it's reforms that the government have introduced across all local authorities and businesses to try and encourage and enable everyone to collect a consistent amount of the same consistent materials. So we have a list of things that we have to collect. In Dorset, we're lucky, we're collecting most of it, paper, cans and so on. But we have to, as part of that, we have to also include and collect Tetra Packs and foil. Another thing that we will have to start collecting, but not until 2027, is plastic film. This is going to be tricky for us because it's a very lightweight material. It's very bulky, but the idea is because we all have to start collecting it, that would generate the necessary markets and the necessary outlets to be able to recycle that material. At the moment, there's very little that can be done with plastic film, but we're hoping that the legislation will initiate that investment that's needed in order to get more people to recycle it. So that will be our next material that we will introduce via R&D, but we won't start collecting until we're 100% confident that there are end markets for that material and it will get recycled. This slide, there's lots of pictures, but regular communications and education campaigns are an essential part of our service. And they are led by my team, the recycling team. And they basically provide clarity on how the service should be used, and they help change behaviour to encourage residents to reduce, reuse and recycle their waste. We do a whole array of different activities, as you can see in that slide. We do social media, road shows, local talks, fetes, agricultural shows. We do a lot of schools, site visits, library events, etc. We also liaise with pound and parish councils, but we like to do more in that regard. We have, as you know, we have a whole network of vehicles, dust carts, cage vehicles, etc. So we do a lot of livery on those vehicles, whereby we have banners promoting the various messages that we're trying to get across. We also have direct mail on R&D through the letterbox. We try to do about 60,000 households every year. We're doing a lot of container messaging as well, stickers and hangers on bins, telling people what can go into the bins, how and etc. And we also have the R&D newsletter. When I was talking about the livery, we have 140 different banners at the moment on 70 different waste vehicles. And road shows, we do a lot of road shows. We did 22 last year, reaching over 1,200 residents on a variety of different waste topics. Schools, as I say, that's a big part of what we do. Educating the future generation is imperative. One of our members of the team, the recycling team, is an ex-teacher, which really helps. So she does a lot of work with schools. She visited over 43 schools last year and community groups such as Brownies, Cubs, and I think she reached over 5,500 children. And she does a whole variety of methods, assemblies, competitions, classroom activities. And we try, as I say, to do as much direct communication as possible. For example, we do have an R&D newsletter. It's really popular. It goes out every quarter, and we use it to update residents on our latest news, campaigns, etc. Our most recent newsletter, which we emailed out, was to over 25,000 residents. So it's really, really well read. And over 13,000 people opened it within the 2 days of receiving it. So it's a good way to get any messages out there. Could we go on to the next slide, please? Thank you. This slide just shows a few of the campaigns that we're currently running or have run in the past. So just to say that social media is a really big, important outlet for a lot of our campaign work. We do post a lot of things. We posted over 380 posts last year, and we have a following of nearly 8,000 people on our social media accounts. So again, it's a good way to get that message out there. Quite similar to what Max was saying, our campaigns are really carefully planned and evaluated. So, for example, I said we've done a lot of stickers and hangers on the bins recently to educate them to increase recycling and use of the food service more. And we reckon that through monitoring the tonnages and the participation before and after that campaign, we've estimated that we've saved about £1 per household by undertaking that work. You'll also see that a lot of campaigns highlight that are regarding food and highlights the close links between waste, food and climate change. It said that wasted food accounts for more greenhouse gas emissions than flying. So it's imperative that we get that food waste down as much as we can. Could we go on to the next slide, please? Thank you. As you'll all know, the best way to deal with waste is just to not produce it in the first place. We do a lot of work encouraging residents to reduce and reuse their waste. One of the areas that the team focuses on is nappies. And promoting the use of reusable nappies. We do what we call waste analysis on a regular basis, where we physically go through the rubbish to see what's in it. Not a particularly nice task, but it does give us so much information. And for example, when it comes to nappies, we estimate about 7% of the black bag rubbish is disposable nappies. That equates to about 5,000 tonnes, so it's a lot. So we do quite a bit of work in this area. For example, you'll see that we try and encourage residents to switch to reusable nappies. We offer a free starter pack, for example, so they can try them out. You'll see from the picture, they're really not like these old-fashioned terry squares. They're really quite sort of cool and colourful and easy to use. We also offer the option of a discount, a £30 refund or voucher if residents spend £45 on reusable nappies. And we've also been working with major reusable nappy brands, and we've actually managed to negotiate discounts with Dorset residents, 15 to 25% discount. So that's proving to be hugely popular. With regards to the voucher, we issued over 200 of those last year. And we now estimate that about 10% of babies born in Dorset are wearing reusable nappies. So that's 1 in 5 babies. Another major component of our rubbish is food waste. We estimate through the waste analysis, as I was talking about earlier, we estimate that 19% of our curbside rubbish black bag rubbish is actually food. So we do a lot of work to encourage people to reduce their food waste through our Love Food, Hate Waste campaign. And we do sell subsidised home compost bins, which you can see a picture there. We sold nearly 2,000 of those to Dorset residents last year. Next slide, please. Thank you. The team have also produced an online zero waste map. I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I think it's really relevant to the presentations that we've just heard about. But another thing that the waste analysis programme has demonstrated that 5.4% of our black bag rubbish is sanitary products, of which 4% is incontinence waste. So similar to the reusable nappy campaign, we're also offering 15 to 20% discount to all Dorset residents with the major retailers. And last year we had over 500 residents that were taking up that voucher, that discount. Another good thing that we're doing, we do hold numerous swish events and give and take days. So a swish event is basically a swap-in event for clothes, shoes and accessories. You'll see a picture there. We held 6 of these last year with over 500 people attending, and nearly 2,500 items were taken home instead of being thrown away. The next Swish event we've got soon is planned for Dorchester Corn Exchange, so on the 7th, I think, Saturday the 7th of June. So we're doing those on a consistent basis. Give and take days, again, you see the picture, that's similar as well. It's a waste exchange event where people bring their unwanted household items and then they take away other people's donated items for free. We're trying to enable these. We've hosted a lot in the past, but we're now enabling these to be hosted by local communities themselves, obviously supported by us, the recycling team. And we have actually produced a give and take days toolkit, which you'll see a picture of. We've only just really done this, but we've already issued over 30 packs. So that's something that we'd quite like to support and help communities do more of. Do you mind moving the slide, please? So this is just very much a summary of what I've been talking about, so how we work with communities. So like I say, we do regular educational roadshows, library events, site visits, shows, etc. We have the give and take days and the swish events. We do work with Litter Free Dorset, you've probably heard of them, and they're currently in the process of organising a series of electrical give and take days. So give and take days, but they're specialising in electrical equipment. And what will happen is at these events, and I think they're hoping to organise 5 of them, at these events there will be repair workshop there, so people will be able to bring in their electrical stuff and get it repaired there and then. As you know, we're always open to talking to community groups, schools, residents association and business networks. We have the zero waste map, which I'll show you in a sec. That includes details of so much stuff that's happening in Dorset: repair cafes, community fridges, real nappy retailers, social supermarkets, food banks, etc. And I'll just show you what it looks like in a sec. We do support litter picking groups by providing equipment and collecting and disposing of the waste after the events. We're currently preparing an engagement pack primarily for town and parish councils, but we can also distribute this engagement pack to community groups as well. And it would include imagery, social media posts, articles, etc., that they can then replicate for their own magazines, etc. We're due to start a campaign soon whereby we do a monthly post on social media where we'll pick a different difficult to recycle item each time. So yes, we've been talking about blister packs, but also vapes, batteries, etc. And then we're also just compiling an A to Z as well of recycling, which we're hoping to put on our website very soon. And then lastly, we're always looking out for community heroes. So these are sort of everyday people that we can then use to promote our Everyone is Doing message that we're doing via social media. Do you mind going on to the next slide? That's great. So this is the zero waste map. It basically shows places in Dorset that help residents reduce, reuse and recycle. So as I say, you can find your nearest waste-free shop, repair cafe, nappy retailer, milk refill machine, sorry. It's got library of things on there, community fridges, social supermarkets, food banks, etc. But what's also useful that it does include a section on how to recycle difficult, to recycle items that aren't collected via the council collection schemes. For example, if you probably can't see it, I'm sorry, it's really small, but it details all the Boots pharmacies that collect blister packs. And then it also has details of other community groups such as Wing on Waste. I think they operate days every month, 1 day a month, whereby people can come along to to a hall to bring all their different items, such as what we've talked about, bras, printer ink cartridges, and makeup containers, biscuit wrappers, all these odds, bits and pieces that they can bring. But I think Wing on Waste do run monthly sessions in Corfmull and Wimborne and Litchett, so they're definitely worth talking to in terms of how they do it. It's this zero waste map is hugely popular. In last year, we had over 77,000 views. So, we're always wanting to update it. So, for example, the Cerne bus, your bike bus shelter, can go on here. We'll be able to add that on. So, it is a really good resource to try and promote all this good community work. So if we could just go on to my next slide. This is my final slide, so I've gone a bit over time. Basically, as I said, recent waste analysis show that 32% of black bag rubbish could have been recycled via our Recycle for Dorset curbside collection scheme. We're doing as much as we can to sort of refine and maximise our current services to generate efficiencies and waste disposal savings. So, and as I've said before as well, 19% of our black bag rubbish is food. So getting this out is a massive, massive priority for us and a focus for us. We're doing so many activities to try and increase food participation and use of the food waste service by targeting low participation areas, for example. And this is where we work with the crews, because they're able to tell us where there is low performance. We doorstep in those areas and we hand out food containers. We also stand outside schools handing out food containers to parents who may not know about the food waste service. So, our plea is we would like to have the help of the community to just try and help spread the message and get as many residents as possible using the Recycle for Dorset curbside service and using our food waste service. Because we, as it says on this slide, we always say that if everyone puts the right thing, right material in the right bin, this will save over 10,000 tonnes of rubbish. It will save approximately £1 million, which we could then use for essential public services. So that's how important it is. This is just, I was saying before about social media and how we do a lot through social media. We have quite a few animations that we do. Unfortunately, if we're, I don't know if we can play this, but it would have to be, you would have to copy that link and put it in the internet browser. It's the only way that works. I don't know if you're able to. Don't worry if not, but it's just a really good animation that we use to try and promote our food waste service, and it just gives you an example of of the types of comms that we do. And that's really it for me. I just wanted to add a few things, if I may. We have got a lot of legislation coming through, some of which has already started, which will help. I did notice that it was mentioned in the chat, but we do have the extended producer responsibility regulations for packaging. What we're really hoping, basically, is that the whole idea of it is the polluter pays principle. So it makes producers responsible for their disposal of their products. So it makes them responsible for paying for their product to be recycled and disposed of at the end of their life. But another good thing about it is that it will also encourage producers to use household packaging that's far easier to recycle and to reuse. So it will incentivize producers to make their products more sustainable, more recyclable, and not using such unnecessary packaging, because what will happen is that they will have to pay for their packaging to be disposed of, and they'll basically be charged more for unrecyclable packaging. So hopefully it will encourage blister packs, classic example, it will encourage producers of blister packs and other difficult to recycle items. It will encourage them to use alternative, more recycling more recyclable friendly materials, for example. So that's quite an exciting piece of legislation that's come in. And then the other one is, I've already mentioned, is the simpler recycling reforms as well, which were introduced by government last year to enable us to all collect a consistent amount, the consistent set of materials right across the country, including businesses as well. And that will, through that, we'll have to collect plastic films by 2027. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in because I think those two pieces of legislation will really help to try and encourage more recyclable and more sustainable packaging to be put on the market going forward. So I think it's quite an important point to raise.
What an incredible set of presentations. I mean, absolutely fantastic. Thank you to all of you. That's remarkable. We have a good quarter of an hour for questions, and I'm sure you're bursting with questions. If you use the hand up facility, it'd be much easier because then it brings to the top and you can ask your own questions. So first question from Sue Powell. You'll have to unmute.
I was very interested in that statistic that only 2% of the waste goes to landfill because it's sorted at a plant over in Poole. Does that mean blister packs are going to landfill, or are they out sorted and recycled or disposed of in some other way anyway?
Lisa, that's a question for you, I think.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry, I was I was answering, but I was on mute. I apologise. And when our material gets taken, our black bag rubbish. So this isn't all our recyclable waste. Our curbside recycling waste is collected and taken to a MRF for recycling. The black bag rubbish is taken to the New Earth Solutions plant in Poole, and basically it goes through a process where recyclables are extracted and the organic fraction is taken out. Everything that's left in there, and that would be blister packs because that will be seen as a contaminant. We can't collect blister packs as part of our, as part of our recycling. Everything else then gets turned into a refuse-derived fuel, and then it gets burnt.
Right. Okay.
But just bear in mind, this is only the black bag rubbish. 60% of the rubbish is collected and recycled through our R4D scheme. This is just what's left, basically, which should, in theory, be everything that we can't recycle via our scheme, if that makes sense.
How does the burning of blister packs compare with the complicated recycling process that they might go through that we have to pay for extra if they're sent to TerraCycle?
So the recycling to dispose of our black bag rubbish through the New Earth Solutions is more expensive than recycling sending our waste for recycling. I think at the moment, with our residual black bag rubbish, we pay £130 per tonne for that to be treated and disposed of, whereas our recycling, that's in the region, we still have to pay, but it's in the region of sort of £50 per tonne, so it's quite a big difference. It's a lot cheaper for us to recycle than to dispose of our waste. So hence the reason why we do, not just for environmental reasons, but it's better for us to recycle our waste financially as well. And we go.
More people a chance to ask a question. So if you don't mind, I'll move on to Julie and then.
Yeah, sorry.
I just wondered if, because of food waste being so critical, I wondered whether there were any schemes afoot to create local biosolution facilities that could be run by the parish councils, because they have enormous amounts of garden waste that they can't deal with. And then there's this sort of food waste situation that takes a lot for you to transport to the biodigesters. Whether there's any kind of local biosolutions ideas.
It's quite difficult to do something like that locally because of all the legislation that you have to follow, particularly food waste. We have in the past worked with town and parish councils that have composted garden waste, for example, but again, they do need the necessary licenses, and yeah, they need the necessary areas. It's not quite as straightforward as it sounds. There is a lot of red tape that you have to go through, and you know, waste is a very highly regulated service. So we, as a local authority, we have to adhere to those rules as much as possible. It's like with, for example, yeah, we have. This is a slightly different subject, but it's along the same rules. But we've looked at working with TerraCycle, for example, in the past. You know, setting up banks for some of these difficult to recycle materials. A, it was very expensive, and B, we weren't getting. They were very vague in terms of what they were doing with some of these materials. And as a local authority, as a waste collection authority, we have to be 100% confident that what we're collecting is being recycled. We have to have a really, really thorough audit trail. So again, that's another reason why it does make it quite difficult for us to look at branching out and collecting some of these difficult to recycle items, because we cannot guarantee that if we were to collect that material, it would get recycled. And you hear these horror stories. There's only one the other day when, you know, the EA found that tyres were being burnt in India. You know, it's in the news the other day. We just have to be very, very careful about what we collect, and if there's sufficient end markets for that material, and if we have a proper audit trail, and we can say with 100% confidence that what we're collecting is getting recycled.
Thank you. That's really interesting.
Dave Taylor, would you like to ask a question? I'm hoping somebody will ask Laurel or Matt a question.
Yeah. Good evening. Two-part question. Firstly, why does Dorset Council never mention where its RDF goes? Everyone always says it goes to Camford as if it disappears, but it actually goes somewhere else and it's never mentioned. And secondly, why is litter never mentioned as in the bins? Because most of the stuff that goes in litter bins is recyclable plastic bottles, cans, and that's never mentioned. One of the things people spend hours collecting blister packs, but at the same time, we've thrown away thousands of aluminium cans and plastic bottles every day through the litter bins. It just seems rather strange. People are spending hours collecting blister packs when we spend hundreds of times more plastic and aluminium through the residual waste system.
Shall I answer that?
Yes, please.
With regards to your second point, we have tried to do recycle on the go, whereby we have installed bins for recycled materials, particularly in the tourist areas, in places like Lyme Regis, etc. Because, as you say, a lot of the litter that people put in litter bins is recyclable. So we have tried to install recycling bins for on the go. They call it on the go material, but it just doesn't seem to work, because it just gets contaminated and we end up having to throw that material away. We will try again. You know, it's not something that we're definitely not going to do, but it's just important to note that it is quite tricky, because, you know, we have set up bins for cans and plastic bottles, etc., litter bins, which we then would have emptied and recycled, but it just gets contaminated with other rubbish, and we just can't recycle it. It is very frustrating, and we're not alone with that. They've been doing trials all across the country for quite a few years now, and it is one of the biggest problems that we have with trying to recycle litter. And the first one, RDF, is all on our website in terms of where the RDF goes. I'm really sorry, but I can't remember from the top of my head where. I think some of it goes to Bridgewater in Somerset, but I can't remember that we also have a second outlet, but it is on our website. We are 100% transparent in terms of what our material.
It's not on your website at all. It's not on your website.
I'll double check. I'll let you know, I promise. There's two places. It's Bridgewater and something else. I just can't remember.
It was going to Bridgewater. Last year it went to Bridgewater and Rotterdam, This year, I've been told it's going to Gothenburg. But
Right.
the council never says that, though. This is my issue. If people felt it was going to Sweden, people might be more concerned about throwing their stuff away. People tend to think it disappears to Camford. That's the end of the line.
Lisa, it might be very helpful if
Sorry.
you have a link to the place in the website where it's
Yeah.
located and post that on the chat.
Definitely, yeah. I can get the latest information from our contracts manager as well, who runs that contract, so that's not a problem, and I can, let you have the information.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Dave. Right, over to Sam Wilberforce.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Lisa, for a really excellent exposition of what the council does. And I think they're to be congratulated on taking that step, taking our letter, sorting it out. But I think there's a wider thing which is beyond your remit in a way. I mean, take an example. I have 3 cats. I buy the soft cat food every day. I always buy it in tins because the tins can be recycled. Increasingly, it's difficult to get the tins. You have to buy the sachets. The sachets are made of soft plastic, and for a while, Morrison's were taking these, but I suspect actually they don't go anywhere. In fact, there's been some suggestion in the Guardian, for instance, that it all gets taken off to an incinerator. And the problem is that we're just using this stuff and then putting it onto the council. Can you get rid of it for me? When we shouldn't be. What you do with soft plastic, like pet food pouches, which are a lot heavier. I would get through sort of 3 a day if I was using those. I only get through 1 Tetra Pak every 3 days on the paracetamol. And this is and they are heavy, thick plastic. We shouldn't be having to use those. And does it all get incinerated? Can you do anything with those or turn into park benches?
Yeah, that's an example of a flexible plastic, a soft plastic, and that's when I was talking about plastic films in terms of what we're going to have to start collecting those from 2027. That includes flexible packaging as well, so it would include items such as cat food pouches. So we would have to collect that via the curbside recycling service. However, I'll go back to my point: is that we won't start collecting that material unless we know there are sufficient outlets for it, because I've heard the same rumor too that some of the plastic packaging that's collected via the supermarkets, they haven't been able to get rid of, and so it's been burnt. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to collect this material if we haven't got sufficient outlets for it. But again, it goes back to this new legislation that's coming through, the EPR, extended producer responsibility. So those producers of the cat pouches, they will have to pay for the disposal of that material, and they'll be charged more if that material is not easily recyclable. So I'm really, really hoping that with a lot of these products, they will just get phased out, because producers will try and find alternative packaging methods. We're already seeing it. Like, I bought my kids the other day those little chocolate fingers, just packets of chocolate fingers. They're now in, I noticed that the packet was paper. So basically, you can recycle that. So they're already doing it, I think. So it is likely to have a massive impact. They've changed it to paper as opposed to plastic film. So yeah, I do think a lot of this will be phased out. But but like I say, we only collect something for recycling if we've got a sufficient outlet for it.
Thanks, Lisa.
That was really helpful. Ian Duckworth, over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Now, we've all been treated to heroic stories of individuals and also the county council doing great works in recycling stuff and trying to sort waste. But to me, it all comes down to this extended producer responsibility, because we're basically all chasing our tails, trying to recycle something which somebody else is producing and earning money from. So where can we find more details of this extended producer responsibility, and does it have the teeth needed to actually tackle these multi-million these multinational companies producing all this stuff, which we end up consuming and then passing on for somebody else to deal with.
Yes, you can find out about it on the DEFRA website. So it's all on there, and even if you just Google it, you will see it. It's quite a big piece of legislation, and I think it has got teeth. I think it will help because it's already starting, and they will be made responsible in terms of paying for the disposal of their products. So it provides them with an incentive to ensure that they make that product as recyclable as possible. Otherwise, it will cost more. It will hurt their pockets. So I'm confident that hopefully it will do what it's supposed to do. And what's happening is that a lot of them will probably rely on local authorities to collect their material. So we will be paid by the producers to collect their material. The only thing is that we have to prove that we're collecting their materials as efficiently as and effective as possible. So that's something that we have to prove by a modelling exercise, basically. But then we get funding through the EPR scheme to collect the materials on their behalf.
I think we just got time for 2 more questions, and there are 2 more hands up. So Matthew Smith, you're on first, followed by Ken Huggins.
Hi, great presentations tonight. Question to Lisa. Everyone's talking to Lisa tonight. I run an organisation called Can Do. We have about 47 businesses involved. We've got JP Morgan and McDonald's want to get involved. We've got contact by Dorset, Litter Free Dorset as well.
Yeah.
We collect cables, wires, cans, drink cans, food cans. We sell them. We're now collecting mobile phones. We raised about £3,500 in our first year for the Christchurch Food Bank. Now we're moving on to look after the diverse abilities, the disabled charity, as well as the food bank and some other local charities. We collected about 200,000 cans last year. We're hoping to more than triple that this year, so hopefully about 600,000 cans. This saves some businesses money. We've got carriers. They've got a box in there. They collect cables in there for us. We make about £80 a month from the cables, just from carriers. We've got about another 5 mobile electrical companies who want to get involved as well. How do we work with you to make us even more money for charities?
Well, just get in touch, basically. Yeah, no, definitely be interested. If you don't, I can take your details, or you can take my details, and we can talk offline, definitely, to see how we can try and promote your scheme as much as possible. Or basically, we do a lot of work with businesses, especially regarding simpler recycling, to make sure that they adhere to the new rules whereby they have to segregate their rubbish for recycling. So yes, definitely we'll be interested in working with you.
Great, thank you. McDonald's wants to give me 200,000 cans a year. So at the moment their waste goes to general waste, doesn't get recycled. McDonald's, yeah. They've been in touch to give me I think about 200,000 cans a year. And we're being approached by the Dolphin Centre as well, and they're talking about doing it as well, and also JP Morgan, and we've got some other companies as well. But all the money, 100% of the money goes to charity. So I'm just wondering, if we work with you.
I think that's definitely a yes, is what I've heard. Matthew, let's get on to the last question there.
Great, thank you very much.
Ken, we can just slip in one last question.
Great, just a quick one then. When we go litter picking in our village, unfortunately, very often the bottles and cans you pick up have been ground into the mud by the traffic. How much cleaning do we have to do before we put them in the recycling? Because it's a real pain to do that.
Yeah. We don't. We don't basically with the curbside scheme, we don't expect people to sort of wash them out thoroughly, or we tend to just say give them a quick rinse, so there isn't leftover food, for example, in the can or whatever. So no, we're not expecting things to be sparkling clean. It all gets cleaned as part of the process at the MRF. We just ideally like the material to not have lots of food residue and etc. inside it. Some ways that's also to help the guys as well, to help the chaps that collect the material. They don't want to be picking up dirty, nasty stuff. But we don't. It doesn't have to be spotless. It's just we tend to just say just give things a quick rinse.
Well, if it's been ground into the mud, it's very difficult to get it even
it all
close to
gets
spotless.
washed. It does all
it?
get
Okay.
washed. Yeah, so
Okay.
don't worry. We're just grateful for anyone that that does litter picking. Don't worry too much.
All right, that's really helpful. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you.
Sue, can you make your question very quick before we finish off?
I can, yes. I'm getting an increasing amount of paper that seems to have a very thin plastic film on it. Flyers through the letterbox. I had 2 Christmas cards this year, chocolate boxes. The NHS COVID test boxes were laminated. Is that recyclable in the paper recycling, or do you have to peel it off or just put it in the in the black bag?
That's okay. We can deal with that in small quantities. So so that's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. Julie, I'd like to hand back to you to close off the event, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. And what I've been sitting here thinking is, how can we gather together all this phenomenal knowledge and ideas that are just here? And no doubt, there's lots of people that won't be at the meeting and have lots of activities and ideas. I think maybe a follow-up. I'm sure Emma and Alex, our coordinators, will have some ideas about how we could compile and consolidate all this experience and work towards having Dorset Can as our sort of function of making sure that all this information is captured for others to follow, and that we all really know and understand all the Dorset Council information and link into that to help promote that. So I think we need to just have some further conversations, don't we, about how we can promote Max's ideas of the sort of hubs and where that can help communities, and kind of take it from there. So I should imagine we can. Are we okay to put your slides out to everybody, Lisa?
Yes.
Because they'd be really, and obviously I'm assuming I'm anybody's welcome to see my slides. I'm sure Max and Laura would like to share theirs, so we'll do that as one thing we can do, and then start liaising and gathering information from other groups and create a waste team within Dorset Can that is just helping to connect everybody up. I'm just looking at Max. There's lots and lots of chat, and hopefully we'll save the chat as well, because there's lots of links on that. So I think it's just thank you to everybody for coming. Thank you to the other speakers for all the efforts in producing excellent information. Thank you to everybody to coming and all your really valid and interesting comments on the chat and your questions. And I think that's it. Thank you very much. Anything else, Giles, that I've forgotten?
Well, can I just say, I mean, I was sorry that Max and Laurel didn't get any questions, but I see that Stacey Woods has put in the chat from Win on Waste that she would like to link up with them. So that's potentially one of your 8 sites, Max, that you can spread the word to others.
Yeah.
So from me as well, thank you very much indeed to everybody. Fantastic set of presentations and a great set of questions. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Bye.